And I think we're rolling. What's up, Larry? How's it going?
I'm doing pretty good.
What'd you do today?
Today I ran a wrestling clinic at Black High, kind of giving back to the team and the team I wrestled for. Just teaching them technique, going over like my training kind of philosophy, what I've kind of learned over the years, in terms of just growing as a wrestler and as a person.
Okay, so like, you started off like, is coaching something like you always kind of wanted to do, or is it just something that like you kind of just like once you're done wrestling, there's not really like an outlet to stay in it unless you want to coach. Like it's not like you can go wrestle in your garage or like, you know what I'm saying, or like go wrestle at the park. Like you can go play basketball at the park, you can go play soccer at the park, and it's still like play pickup with your friends is good. Like you're not going to find a 40-year-old dude and being like, hey, let's go wrestle, let's go. So it's like if you want to stay in it, you kind of have to. You gotta coach.
Yeah.
So it's like
no, it's a different situation compared to other sports, definitely. I think there are limited outlets. There are very many limited outlets with what you can kind of do in terms of your opportunities to kind of still be in the sport, right? So again, there's coaching. If you're good enough, you can wrestle at the senior level. And I mean, those are your really two options. Wrestling culture is a weird culture because, like you said, there's not really pickup games of wrestling. I can't go into a random gym and start wrestling someone.
Yeah.
Or like you can't. The wrestling, there's no like intermediate / like beginner level of like someone who ever even wants to wrestle at an older age, right? Someone who maybe never even wrestled before. They want to get into it, right?
Yeah.
People, there's no casualness about it. It's either you're elite or you're striving to be elite, or you're like
you
just
keep getting better and you're D1, D2, kind of D3, or like you're not involved.
Yeah.
You're a non-factor.
And the things I've seen essentially that people have used as outlets is they'll switch into other forms of like mental martial arts, right? They'll get into like jiu-jitsu. I have some old teammates who have gotten in. That's another outlet actually is MMA. Yeah. Well, like that's a different lifestyle.
You gotta be a different type of cat. Yeah.
Yeah, we can get into that later, but just those are two very different types of like forms of just the sport. It's a really interesting reason, like point of view to look at wrestling, I guess, because I mean I guess you could argue honestly that that's a limitation that why wrestling maybe can't grow. Like it's not as casual. People don't understand. Like many of the viewers who do wrestling, or like many of the viewers of wrestling, I would say, have done it or have family that have done it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big limitation in itself. It's like there might be some people that are like interested in wrestling, but it's not really like. I think our scoring system's really weird. I think the styles confuse people. There's so many different kind of like facets of like things that just disrupt us from growing as a sport, right? Even small things such as like what we wear, right? A lot of people are turned off by the leotards, right?
Come on, I like the singlets. We're not getting rid of the singlets. Don't even start talking to me about that shit. Because you gotta be we don't want the people that are afraid of wearing singlets wrestling. They're not gonna last. Let's just be honest. If you're worried about what you're wearing, you ain't a wrestler. Let's just because I will wrestle in my underwear in a competition if that's what.
You can't say that.
Why not?
It is pretty close. It's like
singlet
is pretty close. And like, but that's what I think. That's what really turns off a lot of people from the sport. Is like, honestly, like not even just saying that people. You're focused more on the people that are like want to be in the sport, right? Yeah. You got to think about viewership, right? You got sports. And just other sports that are blowing up in popularity and hype, essentially on social media. I think I can't really think of an example right now, but I just think wrestling has a big opportunity to do that, and we don't take advantage of those things. And they've tried in the past, right? We got like in college, I think, especially in high school, I saw a couple schools that were using the 2-piece, right? I don't care, I don't mind that. It's a little bit more like the grappler style, but I don't know. There's so many layers to how wrestling can grow, and it's. I'm not gonna say it's a dying sport, but it's like it's a stagnant sport in terms of popularity. Where like I feel like we gain popularity and then we stop.
Well, it's like we need it's kind of like wrestling. The culture around it kind of doesn't allow for like extravagant personalities. Because it's like you get humbled fast. Everyone's so humbled because you get your ass beat so much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, so nobody wants to run out there and be like, after a match, I'm going to smash him again next time. No, unless you're Carter Starocci or something and you just let your nuts hang like that. Or Gable Steveson. And that's why those guys hold numbers like Roman Bravo Young. Man, I don't even know about NCAA viewership next year if Gable doesn't come back. Because, like, Spencer Lee was just must-see because he was doing crazy shit. Like, he's taking number 3. I remember I watched... We were like hyped for the Iowa-Nebraska duel because we thought it was gonna be so good. And like Spencer Lee goes out there and pins Liam Cronin in like 30 fucking seconds. He looked unreal. Like it's just those guys pull viewers, and then like you could tell when Spencer lost in the semis of the NCAAs, the semi viewers were higher than the finals. I've never seen that before.
Really?
Yeah, that was crazy.
I'd be interested to see what that looks like higher viewers. That is pretty interesting.
Chris, can you pull up 2020?
Just pull up NCAA like viewership sessions.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling Championship 2023 viewership.
Okay.
And I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab you another water.
You might be on like ESPN.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's.
Come on, viewer source.
What was the original question we were talking about?
We were just talking about your morning practice with the team.
No.
I was just talking about
the beginning of the popularity thing. We were talking about something.
Oh, like how some things turn people off. How some things turn people from the outside off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's. Yeah, I get that. It's like people don't casually say, I'm going to watch wrestling. Yeah. But it's because it's never fucking on. You know what I'm saying?
I agree, but it's also like...
And there's no gambling on it. There's no gambling on it. And that's a big thing. Like, if there was over-under on, like, points per period, like, we had an over-under line for how many points in a first period, how many takedowns.
Again,
this is big things. That is allowed in college football. I would love to gamble on college wrestling. I would love to gamble on college wrestling. I still think the pool of that would be only kind of still. We're still looking at the pool. Yeah, we're looking at we're looking at the who watches wrestling. Truly. Yeah, but I think gambling really draws people to sports. Like it really does. I started I'm not even gonna lie. Did you know that Prize Picks app that everyone's fucking on? I started watching esports Counter-Strike. And, that shit's so dope to me now. But, I've bet a couple times on it, and now I'm a fan. I like it. Well, I think it's cool. And, I thought esports were so lame before. And people, it's just kind of
gambling in itself is addicting because of the way it's structured, right?
100%.
You get these dopamine rushes because, you don't know. You get these dopamine rushes to, oh, am I going to win? Am I going to win? And you hit, and then you're associating these thoughts and these experiences.
Yeah,
with
but then you
sport.
might double up and come back,
right.
and then let's say some guy hits for you a couple times, bro. You got a favorite guy now. You got someone that you are invested in.
Yeah.
Let's say I bet on Roman Bravo Young to get 3 takedowns first period, bro. If he hits that 3 matches in a row, I'm like, bro, you said I don't send him some money. I don't know.
I definitely think. Maybe gambling could be. I think that's a limited growth opportunity
for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Not everyone's a gambler. Not everyone definitely, and especially with the crowd we talked about. Right? You said it's a hardworking, grinding sport. Right? The culture around wrestling is blue collar work, and that's if you look at the Midwest, East Coast, the few programs that are on the West Coast, the majority of the fans are blue collar people. Right? Yeah. It's a blue-collar sport. So I think just expanding that range, and this goes back to what you're saying, you're not allowed to really celebrate. It's tough because, we want to be like this pipeline to like MMA almost,
Like,
but it's like
we're
we
too
don't.
chivalrous.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, honestly. We're a little too chivalrous. Like we're set in our old ways. Like the blue collar fans. Like some people do like they do like the boasting, the crap
Yeah.
talking,
Well,
the celebrations, right?
I just think it's personality in general. Like people should be able to express like who they are. And it's like in football, like you'll see someone get on a post game conference and just go crazy, like or something. But
Yeah.
again, like there is like, but there's also the humble people that people love, like Joe Burrow, who is just like calm, cool, collected, smoking a cigar in the locker room. Like you'll never see a wrestler doing that, maybe because it's not healthy, or like.
Again,
I feel like
he'll get bashed on because it's blue collar.
But again, having like a heel like that would be kind of cool. I mean, I think if I saw a wrestler like win Big Tens or Pac-12s and like pop out with a cigar on the, like, I don't know, that would go viral. That would be super cool.
I agree. That would go viral. I do definitely still think there'd be a lot of backlash from the community, but I do see opportunity in the younger generation, especially with
the growth in MMA.
The growth in MMA, but I was thinking particularly kind of like the growth in women's wrestling. I mean, the growth in women's wrestling honestly just gets a lot more people involved, right? Yeah. I mean,
it's just dollars in, dollars out. I mean, that's how from a
business
perspective.
But just like viewership, right? Like, let's say a family never watched wrestling before. Girls interested in wrestling. She starts wrestling in high school. She goes to college, wrestle in high school. Maybe her dad never did anything. He heard of wrestling. Maybe her dad then starts watching. Oh, he sees the NCAA championships, and goes back to what you're saying, accessibility of kind of the watching wrestling. There's not many times to watch wrestling, right?
I wish there was more.
You have the NCAA tournament, Division I, which is probably the most broadcast thing, which we're gonna look at right now.
You got 3 a year. I mean, it's Final X, World Championships, the NCAAs, Big Tens, and a couple duels.
Yeah,
like that's what it is. It's like Conference Championship weekend.
There's NCAAs,
and then World Championships.
This goes hand in hand essentially with like being a wrestler too. Your career, if you're just gonna go to college route, and I kind of figured this out pretty fast. It's like your career goes like coaches tell you, like take every day your career goes by so fast. It's crazy how fast 5 years go by. Yeah. Well, 5 years on undergrad. I mean, thankfully I had the COVID year, but like it's crazy.
It flew by, huh?
It flew by.
Chris. Let's take a look at this shit.
This is from 2018.
I got the mouse right there. I got my mouse right there.
This is from 2018.
2018? No, I need the recent stats.
I can't find the actual stats, but I just
look up on Twitter actually, because there's a guy who posted look Twitter. I think it's one of the flow guys. Look up Twitter NCAA wrestling numbers or
go explore. Search Twitter. President of France playing video games with bad parenting for bad riots going on.
Larry, what were you saying to look up?
NCAA. Go to explore instead. Or actually, that might work.
No, that's fine.
Just look up NCAA wrestling numbers or viewers.
Viewership.
Just do viewer for now.
Viewership.
No. Just do viewers, and then hit enter, and if there's viewership, you're adding too many words. Scroll down.
Click that link. No,
right there. No. Go down. No. Go
this?
down. Andrew Spade, right there. Go down.
No.
Scroll down. Right here.
Oh, bang.
Click on
Open it up.
Oops.
So,
NCAA
that's the final.
Wrestling Championship final viewership. That's cool. We see what we were talking about. No Gable, no Spencer. The two only personalities in the sport. And I would attribute at least 150,000 of those views to RBY. So that is an awful performance. Like that is so bad. In the year before, Gable effect, like 630. You look at 2013, that's Kyle David Taylor. That's
this is an interesting stat sheet.
2014.
It's so interesting.
2014, you had Dake going for his fourth. 2015, I think you had Stever going for his fourth. Yeah. So that's pulling numbers. Man, Yanni going for his fourth didn't pull no numbers. Like that didn't pull no numbers.
RBY in there too. I mean,
I would attribute almost all of those viewers to
it's hard.
Johnny and RBY.
You could think that, but it's hard to put on. I mean, I would love to see the background information on this like data. Just like
Bro, I'm not gonna
based on,
lie,
like,
I
states.
slept through like 75% of the finals this year.
Well,
and I didn't even care.
What's sad about I think the viewership is like as much as like I think a lot of the viewership for just the NCAA tournament, like if you really want to watch the most nitty and gritty matches of the NCAA tournament, you're looking at the blood rounds, you're looking at those third, fourth place matches. Those are the most electric.
And what
matches.
I want to say is ESPN Plus did a phenomenal job streaming that shit.
Really?
Like all 8 mats on a mat cast, and then they had each individual match. So they had 9 different streams of it. And it was just like, bro, I was like in heaven. I had 3 TVs in my laptop. I was just like, mat cast, semifinal, blood round. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, no,
I loved it.
If you want to watch, like, I would almost argue, like, if you wanted to show a fan, like, wrestling, I would pull up either, like, some type of blood round match or even, like, just one of those placing matches. Because when you really get to those placing matches, like, those guys they have nothing to lose. They're just ready to scrap and they're ready to fight for points.
Those
It's
matches
exciting.
are so good.
It's exciting, right?
Man,
I can think of Ja'Cory Teamer versus Payne Rod that last year. Their match was.
I think they wrestled twice that tournament too. Which was like some crazy shit.
But like that's like type of thing. And this goes like to Luke Holloway. Like that's such a grueling match, and like both opponents put it out on the line, and they both respect each other at the end of the day. And it's like it's interesting because like we talked about how like people showboating and stuff, but it's like that was such an exhausting, like even if you just watch that match from the outside perspective, you become exhausted, right?
Yeah.
And like you almost like think of you have so much respect for those two, like
it's like you don't want to talk crap to them after the match or like be like, oh
no, but that
also
like
raw because
blew
like
up.
you empathize with them a little bit. It's like, bro, y'all just banged out for 6 minutes, like I don't want to say they're your friend now, but you have respect for them. Like if I wanted to, if it was you or a random guy I didn't know, I would pick you to work with because like I know what type of guy you are now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like that says a lot. So it's like you kind of don't want to. Yeah, I get that. It is kind of like a tough sport. Like imagine if there was just a. You know, it's honestly like we kind of need to do it like a fight card almost, where like guys are training for like 6 weeks and they know this is gonna be their match, like Final X, and like, but Final X is just promoted so awfully, like.
Yeah.
It's like.
They tried to do that really with during COVID, right? They had
I loved it.
Matches.
That shit was so, and they had like what was it?
They had it was center. It was like what, like 20 matches, right? And
and it was like Jordan Burroughs versus the Heat, and there was one like David Taylor versus Jordan.
You can even look up the smaller clubs too. I think those are great opportunities for growth. And we need more of that in college and off season, right? We need more opportunities to like wrestle.
Bro, I'm forgetting like who's on the scene. That's the bad thing. Like you have to be like relevant all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
and that might be why like some of the viewership went down.
Yeah,
right?
it's like okay. So like another thing, like RBY with his socials, bro. He's on them all the time. Like he just did this thing last night. He's been posting about it, the Fight Pass thing. You know. Like, that does a lot. Gable, he's always posted, just like, reminding people he's alive. Because you don't exist if like, people aren't remembering you, you don't exist. Well, and that's just the truth. It's the truth.
This is an interesting topic. I remember one of my coaches, I was like, I don't really post on social media that often, and like, what was it? I was like taking a picture or something for something, and I was joking, and I was like, I gotta stay relevant for social media. And then we had this conversation. He's like, yeah, like if in this day and age, I would have hated to grow up like in your guys' generation. It's weird. You guys have to post to stay relevant. It's a weird. You can either reject. These are the two paths you have, right? You can reject social media and kind of like not really post. You can not even have social media.
Cut yourself.
You can live your life. I think that's a great life to live, right? But also, I think. When you go that social media route, there's so many different opportunities to grow, like
meet people, go places, like it's a worldwide economy. Like
Yeah.
social media makes the world a worldwide economy. Like we could say like, oh, we can transfer money from here to there from banks in 5 days, but now you can like see somebody's business and communicate with them day of.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, it's like
it covers,
and find out everything about it.
it looks at multiple, like you can again, there's advertising, there's meeting new people. I don't know how, I mean, I'm not big in social media. This is another thing. Like, I don't know how big it is on meeting people because it's like, think about the way I think about social media is like if I'm meeting someone through social media, and like let's say I had a million like not subscribers, but a million followers on social media, right? And someone from Hollywood invites me. It's like how legit or genuine do I really think that relationship is?
Well, some things are about money, some things are about
Yeah,
friendship.
some things, like
are,
you said,
yeah.
economy, like it's business.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know who your friends are and you know who's business. So like, and that's just life. You know, I think you take everything as like grain of salt.
With a grain of salt. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very.
But yeah, so back to coaching. I wanted to touch on this a little bit more. So, do you think coaching makes you better at your sport? Because I have like a whole philosophy on this that's just like, I think it absolutely does, but like not necessarily just because you're coaching, just because you're instead of like thinking about shit, you're actually like speaking it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I think speaking shit and like actually saying it is or writing it is so much more powerful than just like thinking it and being like, oh, I'm gonna do this, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
or like this technique. But like going out there and saying it in front of a bunch of people that like pressure's on you a little bit. You gotta show this right so that the kids aren't fucking up. Because if you do it bad, like the whole room's gonna be in shambles, bro. And that's just ugly. Like like when you look over at a bunch of kids and you're just like, whoa, what the fuck am I seeing? Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you feel like that falls on you probably because it's like you're demonstrating. Again, it's like some kids are shit, but
no,
it's like
okay. So yeah, I do think coaching definitely like helps you like really internalize and learn your technique, right? It also helps you break. Like I think the biggest way you kind of learn is really by teaching. Like I mean, I've done a few privates throughout my career, the past couple of years. And I've done a couple clinics, just teaching a wide range of kids, right? High schoolers, middle schoolers, like younger kids. They're all different age demographics. Teaching technique, it's interesting, especially even like you said, compared to like doing privates versus like a big group. Like a big group, depending on the group. I mean, I've only worked with like a big group of like maybe like 40 max. That's true. 30 max. Yeah, you have to show it. You have to break it down into steps. I think that's another thing that helps teach it is taking the technique and breaking it down into biteable like pieces, right? I think this is a big thing that Birch, our coach, did really well, where he would take the parts of the technique down, break it down, where we're kind of drilling it, and then he puts you in these situations like, all right, drill, wrestle, play in this position, right? Okay. That's what I try to emulate, and that's what I did the past couple days. But yeah, being able to like essentially break it down, like of course when we learn technique from someone, you obviously kind of like you go out there, you drill, you try it out. You're definitely, I mean, unless you're just really athletic, it's really hard to kind of perfect the technique right away. Absolutely. We drill it. Even if I have it down in the drill, it's hard to hit it in live when you don't have the confidence or the technique, right? That's why like I'm a big person in like the play wrestling.
I'm huge on that too. That's something like when I was in high school, I wish we just did that all practice because like I know you need to drill hard, you need to get like 30 minutes of hard drilling, 40 minutes of hard drilling, like hard, get your fucking sweat going, all that, like get it going.
Yeah.
But then it's like we're just slamming each other. Like I got my like let's play. That is something like I'm happy you brought that into the room more because I know Roscoe was on a little bit. But like that's huge. That's how you make the biggest gains.
Yeah,
I think.
And I think it's a slippery slope with the play, especially with the age groups that you introduce it to, because like I mean, no, well that and they're trying moves that like, I mean it's okay. I think it's okay to try moves that are like you like maybe have explored.
I think
but like it's.
I think the
But,
big
like,
thing is you have to understand the philosophy of wrestling. Like, in a sense, just like how to be successful in certain positions.
Yeah,
like you
well, with the play, I just think like you have to stick to the fundamentals, right? You can
That's
go. You have to go to fundamentals, right? It's always fundamentals. Like sprawl, like getting your hips in, keep your weight forward into them on the defensive end, and then like once that fails, then you start exploring other options, whether it's like switch, those like RBY hits a front roll, right?
Yeah.
Off of a double, like all that exploratory stuff. I think that's good, but it comes after the fundamentals.
That's kind of what I mean by like philosophy. Like we would say it's like hard then sissy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like you go to your hard D, you go to your sprawl, and then you go to limp leg, and then it's like, oh, they stopped the limp leg. Okay, let's do something stupid now. Let's pull the leg over the head. Let's go here. Let's get goofy. You know what I'm saying?
and
then let's reset. Like,
yeah. So, and if people
Get
don't know what
solid.
hard and sissy means, so like in the room, it's called hard defense. You're wrestling hard defense typically. Your head, hands, right? Your hips,
Gritty
your
stuff.
sprawl. And yeah, it's not pretty, but it's gritty. It works, right? And then if all else fails, he gets you into a compromised position. Then you're finding what we call, I don't even know what it's called, sissy.
It's a purge.
Sissy defense, right? It's finding other options to either score yourself or get out of position or stalemate, right? I've had plenty of wrestlers, like coaches and stuff, who one of my personal coaches, Tristan Rand, he's probably honestly one of the greatest like CC wrestlers like I've ever like wrestled with. Like got my hands on. Like he is so
slippery.
Yeah. I mean,
I know what you're
it's
saying.
weird. It's weird because
it's like you can't touch them. It's like they're
not
a
even that.
fish.
Like you'll get in the position that you think you're good in, like such as like he's really good at crackdown, right? I mean, you can pull up Tristan Moran.
Highlights.
Tristan Moran wrestling. I mean, he's beating Nick Lee. He's beating a bunch of big names, right? He's really good. He knows where he wants to be.
YouTube.
Yeah, go to YouTube. Tristan Moran. Just look up Tristan Moran wrestling, and we'll see what pops up. But yeah, he. I'm trying to think where I'm going with this. He's really good in certain positions, and he puts himself there, right? But he comes from like Arizona.
He went to
Arizona.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, he went to Arizona.
He was like a 4-time All-American or something.
He never All-American actually.
No
he was
way.
12er. Yeah.
Oh
so
my God.
he beat really good guys though, right? No, we go back. So scroll down. Interested. Not the Luke Fletcher match. Keep going down.
You gotta go highlights. We don't want to watch the whole match.
No. Let's keep scrolling down. Let's see what pops up.
Put on this fall. Put on
No.
the fall. Yeah, that's
No.
what we want.
I don't know if that's a. Yeah, let's go up.
Go up. Yeah. Lawrence doesn't know. I know. This one right here.
Alright.
It's 1 minute. That's up.
This
That's
one?
the one we want.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is I think one of his greatest.
Consolation between Moran of Wisconsin and Cameron Kelly of OU.
Right.
Let's see. The match just started.
He loves this position, right? It's pretty good
Everyone
in
who's
here.
slippery loves this position.
Really
Ooh.
funky,
Wow.
really funky.
Now we gotta elevate. Nope. Comes up
Back into his position, flipping the cradle, locks it up. Really funky here, right? He's nasty.
He's got it tight. He's gonna get his hips up top though, yep.
Nasty.
Yeah, see, that's dirty, slippery shit.
Yeah, it's really so.
That is like so fucking demoralizing. It's
But like, so he coached. He was coached when he was in Wisconsin. He was coached by Ben Askren. I mean, we all know. Most people know who Ben Askren is. Like
3-time NCAA champ, one of the best ever. One of the best ever. Great UFC fighter, like most pins ever.
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah.
He's phenomenal.
Well, like you just from history of knowledge, like he showed me so much, like you said, slippery. I call it just scramble situations. He showed me so much technique. But I still think, and like my coaches preach it too, like fundamentals over that stuff, right? I mean, you can be good in those positions, but it's like those don't come first. Like
Yeah, you can't
when you get to the highest level of wrestling, like Division I, senior level,
That
Like,
shit don't work.
Well,
And especially
okay.
initially.
It
It's like,
works. It works. I'll say it works, but everyone knows how to finish. Everyone knows how to scramble with you. It's a lot harder to succeed unless you're like I would say Tristan had a niche essentially for that crackdown / front leg defense, right? You get him with a double leg though. He
It's
doesn't have
like-
an answer.
It's like it's like a chess game, dog. It's exactly like a chess game. Like you might see a move here that nobody else sees, but like it's risky move, so you can only do it like can't do it too often. You gotta move it and then move it back, and then like you're back in position. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's analogies and everything, and that's one thing I think wrestling is like really good at, like just being an analogy to life. Like just like if you're good at wrestling and like you understand the grind, you understand the sport, you understand like what it's actually about. Like you don't need to be like a fucking all-American to get everything that you can out of wrestling. Like I really feel like I got everything that I could out of the sport, and if I would have kept wrestling, it wouldn't have made me a better person or any of that. Like it just would have, I just would have been wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I maximize potential growth like as a person for the sport, because I like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
Because I think wrestling like really matures you. It makes you accountable. It makes you responsible. Especially in Vacaville. Like we were going on trips without our parents when we were 13 for 2 weeks. Like you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So it really is just like an analogy to life. And I'm reading this manga. I think I was talking about it. It's called Vagabond. It's
Vagabond.
about Miyono.
Okay.
About Miyono Musashi, who's like the guy who wrote the Book of the Five Rings, which is like a book about strategy, warfare, how to approach life. Like, there's so many Instagram pages that are just like quotes of Musashi, way of life Musashi. And it's like, one thing he says is like, I've talked about this in past podcasts. It's like once you understand, so he was a sword fighter, right? And he would challenge people one-to-one duels to the death because that's honor back then. You trained at your dojo, you had your sword, and you would go challenge people one-on-one duels to the death. And that, like, if you died, that just was what it was. That was your way, and you went. And
That's the way of the samurai. Right?
Yeah, that he was basically a samurai. I think
Pull some pictures up of that.
Miyamoto Musashi. Yeah, but yeah. So he would do this, and in the manga, like one of the big things is like once you understand the way of the sword, you understand everything else in life. So it's like, and he says like once you understand the path broadly, the path is clear in everything or something. Yeah. So that's like from the manga series. That's probably what he's most famous from at this point. But like search Miyamoto Musashi quotes.
From Vagabond?
I think I've seen these like reels pop up. It's like the
Don't search Vagabond quotes, just quotes.
I think I've seen some of these reels where it's like the really cool music and then it's like
Leave that. So it's like, yeah, he talks about a lot of shit like this that's just like, you have to remain formless and like always be aware of like yourself and like what you're becoming in the moment. You know what I'm like really looking introspectively. In like being a samurai, you have to do that to be able to go into combat and risk your life, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like wrestling in a sense, like to be able to go out there and actually wrestle someone and put your best on the line and be like, I'm gonna put my best on the line, and if I lose, I lose. Like that's on me. That's on me.
So,
like it's not on anyone else but you. And there's not many other sports like that. Like even MMA, you can kind of be like, oh, the ref stopped it too early, or like jiu-jitsu. Oh, I don't know. Maybe jiu-jitsu, you get your arm broken, no one's saying shit. So maybe that's fairly similar.
Yeah.
But wrestling, it's like you go out there and you lose. You lost. Like you lost,
Yeah.
and that's just. It takes a different kind of person to be able to have that happen to them and still walk the walk and talk the talk. Like you really have to look at yourself and kind of be like, am I actually about it? And then go back and like reevaluate the next week.
Yeah,
You know
no,
what
I mean I agree.
We've all been there.
I agree with all that really. Like I mean if you really kind of think about the definition of wrestling, right? To wrestle is to struggle. I mean I'm not very biblical, but like biblical references to wrestling. Wrestling is about struggle. I think people sometimes equate wrestling to like dominance or like always winning, right?
Or just being like gritty and
so
strong.
like this,
but
yeah, or gritty or strong, but like strong, like I think, well, again, looking a little more introspective, like to wrestle is to struggle. A wrestling match is a struggle between two forces, like seeing who's gonna come out on top.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. Wrestling, I think, has provided me a couple opportunities to like meet cool people. Like we have like a mental training coach for that. I think over the past year and a half, he's helped me really kind of like break down my goals and like really think about like not only like, and this kind of goes back to your quote, kind of some of your quotes similar to that. Not only like what kind of goals do I want to achieve, but like who are you becoming, and essentially along the way trying to reach these goals. That's the most important thing, right? You're the quote. It's not the destination; it's the journey. But like you got to think about like who are you becoming in pursuit of these goals, because it's really not about your goal. Like the way we think about it is like we're gonna pursue these goals, and we're gonna do it in every way, shape, or form that we can, and we'll break it down into habits and everything, right? We're looking at how we can just grow and be a better person, figure this out. But in that process, we're figuring out how can we become just a better person.
Yeah, so like this kind of goes back to like the story I was talking about too, Vagabond. It's so crazy because like in the story, so I haven't finished it yet. I'm at like it's like 330 chapters. I probably had like 280, so I'm getting there. And he's like at the point where he's like nearly one of the strongest, and it's like he's like reflecting on his journey, and he's like, yeah, I'm at the top. I'm like the one invincible under the sun or whatever, what he's wanted to be since like his childhood. But he's like looking back at his journey, he's like, how many amazing people did I kill along the way to become what I've become now? Like you kind of gotta like he got his goal, but he's not who he wanted. You know what I'm saying?
He was more
So
focused on like his destination
than
and
the
like
journey and like
he ended up becoming something that he didn't want to be.
yeah, it's like he
That's
could have
a cool
learned. He
story.
maybe could have learned from these people or like battled them, but not taking the
Give
killing
him-
stroke. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but that was his way. That's how he couldn't have come to this conclusion if he didn't do that. That's
Yeah.
the crazy
I mean,
thing.
and you could
I
even-
think about that a lot. It's like
You could even argue like maybe like that like him becoming or like him doing all those things makes him face that realization in the first place.
he
Maybe
wouldn't have had that realization if he
Yeah.
didn't do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
someone could tell
so
him that, but like maybe he would never realize.
he wouldn't because people did, and it's like, yo, it's like you kind of gotta. That's like something in life too, where it's like someone can tell you something, but it's like you gotta realize for yourself, and that sounds really toxic because you should listen to people. Like, you know, you got someone you respect, blah 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 blah. You listen to them, but like if you have a goal that you want to achieve. Or like something that people are like, this is stupid, this is outlandish, but like it really like burns inside you, and you're like, I need to fucking do this, or I can't sleep at night. You need to go find out. Like you need to go find out, and that's kind of like what he did, and he found out, and it made him a better person. And then he's like, fuck, how could I? And like the second, I haven't finished the story yet, but like the second half of his life, he'll probably like become like a way better person and like affect a lot of people positively, even though like he's having this reflection right now that's like. Oh, I didn't go about that the wrong way. And I think about that sometimes. Like, I wasn't always the best person in the past, or like went about things how I would like to. Like, you know, during wrestling, sometimes maybe I wasn't. I don't want to say I wasn't working as hard as I wanted to, but I was feeling sorry for myself, maybe, or something like that. But you know, looking back on that, it's like I wouldn't even know if I just would have been like a hard ass and been like. Just like, oh, I'm just gonna go blah blah. I would have never had like the perspective of someone who's feeling sorry for themselves. Like, man, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just like you have to learn, and life is like about learning. That's really what it
and
is.
continuously growing.
And in wrestling, you're always learning. So that just touches back to what I was saying. Wrestling is like a great outlet for life. Like,
Yeah.
if you understand wrestling and you really immerse yourself, you're gonna be great in life as well, whether it's family, career, relationships, all that. You just understand the path and like what you need to do. That just goes with it.
No, yeah, I agree with you.
Some of these quotes are crazy.
Yeah, and that's to go back to one of our original questions. I think that's an unfortunate reality, or like not reality. That's an unfortunate circumstance compared to like what the viewership of wrestling, right? Or the participation in wrestling.
Like, can you Google some like numbers on I don't know participation in high school athletes of multiple sports, right? Let's just look at these numbers.
What are we looking at?
So like
You gotta get specific.
like the
And
high
where do you?
school participants of sports, like the numbers.
Okay.
So like what I'm saying
High
is
school
like
sports participants
Yeah.
statistics.
yeah, that works.
Yeah, so like it's a grueling sport, but it's one that teaches you a lot of good lessons, right?
According to the National Federal of State High School Association, more than 7.6 high school students
Scroll
participated
down.
in school sports 2021-2022 school year.
I want a breakdown now.
4% drop since 2018-2019, with girls sports losing more athletes than boys sports, according to the CDC, which is fake news. I'm just kidding. High school youth risk. Okay, so basically the pandemic got people out of sports. They're playing video games. Get kids off the video games. I agree with Macron, the France guy. He said video games are. There's snipers on the roof in France. Like, we're not going to talk about this, but they're having a whole revolution right now.
Oh yeah, I've seen like a little bit of
It's
news.
like over some money shit. I mean, I'd be mad too. Don't mess with my money.
Yeah. Slow
Statistics
down.
on school sports. How many students play sports? Which sports do they play?
2022. Scroll down.
This is
Keep scrolling until we see like.
So
Well, like
all
okay.
high school students, about a little more than half play sports, and it gets lower as they get older. So, but that makes sense. Like, it's like, are you gonna do it in college or are you?
Yeah.
Not?
Go. Oh, here we go.
Most likely to play high school sports. Okay.
Most popular girl high school. Okay, let's just look at men. I don't know. Actually,
Most popular boys high school sports. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not even in the top 5.
Not top. Well, like, would you think so? How many?
No.
How many high school wrestlers are there in the nation? Can you give me that search, please?
Yeah. Oh, do it in a different tab so we can keep that number up.
But yeah, again, like I think wrestling teaches a lot of good value, and I think again
The only people who are really putting their
High school wrestlers.
the only people who are putting their kids in wrestling are people who wrestled before.
Yeah, my dad wrestled. Your dad wrestled. Let me think. Yeah, and it's like, or someone really like, or they got a good buddy that's just like, hey, wrestling like really helped me when I was a kid. You need like, yeah, it's like word of mouth.
It's so interesting our culture here around wrestling because like you can
The
like
number of
look at other cultures around the world like I don't know.
it also depends on like just there's so many
Factors that go into it. It's hard to pinpoint.
is it really?
I thought there was like
200,000. Bro, we'd be in the top 5, man, at least. Go on to compete NCAA. Bro, but it's like you kind of got to think about it. There's a lot less opportunity at the college level for wrestlers, so it would make sense that
that is a big factor.
that
too.
there is less. Like, bro, if a Texas school had a wrestling program, that would be huge. If I don't know,
I agree. I just think
if like Sacramento State had a wrestling program, I think that would be huge. Like
Yeah.
it just because it's like if there's not one at your college, you forget about it. It's like what we were saying about the athletes earlier. You forget about them. So it's like you graduate from high school, your college doesn't have a wrestling team. You forget about it. It doesn't exist to you
No,
anymore.
and it's so yeah, it's such a complicated like situation because like I love wrestling. I think it has so much potential,
but it's like there's so many different just things that like
I think it needs.
contribute to like it being stagnant.
I
Like,
think the academy flow that's happening, like Aspen Wrestling Academy, DC, whatever DC is
even
doing,
the numerous types of academies opening
that
up.
are outside of schools.
Yeah,
That are outside of schools.
I think
Because-
those blown up are great.
No, and I think there needs to be more. There's gonna be more, and this is like where college guys that are like good or have like great coaching skills are gonna be able to stay in the sport. Yeah, because there's a lot of limitations with high school now. I mean, especially like with the woke stuff, especially in California in particularly, like it's just
Yeah.
like, hey,
I mean, like, so personally, if I had like $100,000, that would be like my dream job.
Yeah,
Like, right.
you open
That
a
would be,
club,
that would be
you run
awesome.
it,
Open
you-
a club,
there
have kids
every
pay.
day.
Yeah, show up, I form these relationships.
I wonder
like
how
family.
much money you would need to run.
I think you would. Well, you got to think about the place, a rent, location. You also have to think about a bunch of things. You got rules based on like, and this goes the law, like just laws for kids, like training in your facilities. You got rules.
Yeah, you can't
For
just
the
go
sports.
straight underground.
Yeah, you got rules for sport. Like can the athlete, can this high school athlete? I don't know the local area rules, but can this high school athlete
Train here
train
during
here
the season.
during the season, off season, dead week, like right? Are there rules to that? Like how does that look? Can they train with college guys? I know there's like some Twitter stuff talking about how like certain really good high school athletes, right? They're training. There's like a rule.
It was Bo Bassett.
Yeah, it was either New
he
Jersey.
got suspended for like 2 years from his high school state tournament due as like the best kid in the country. He's a freshman. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And he was just training with like his buddy from down the street in his garage. Like, and they've been buddies forever. Fucking ridiculous.
And this goes a little bit in the weird part that I kind of like. That's I don't know why.
Punishing kids is crazy. Like I remember when we were in high school, there was a kid that was transferring from like San Diego school to somewhere else, and he had to sit out the first half of the season.
Okay, so this is what I was trying to talk about. Like, people take high school sports way too serious. Like, I know.
No, we know. We've seen parents that take it way too serious. Our parents luckily did not. Like my dad just would have a good time with it. Like he wouldn't take it serious, but he'd get hyped up because like it's exciting. Your kid's going out there and fighting someone.
I'm talking about like
someone
that's not even part of your business though. Like parents will go out of their way. Adults will go out of their way to compromise a kid's opportunities just because they think it's unfair because like they're transferring to a different school, high school.
Absolutely.
It's weird behavior. I don't know.
It happens in every sport.
It does.
It absolutely happens
and
in football, basketball, like parents, coaches, whatever, making phone calls. You got a good connection.
People are trying to do what's best for them in their future.
Yeah, but let me tell you what's best for you. And this is why I love wrestling. Beat the guy, you get the damn spot. And that's what my dad would tell me. He would be like, fuck all these politics in baseball. Fuck all this shit. Like, go beat the guy up, get your spot, and you'll have a good time.
It's interesting because the two schools that actually I've been at, like some high school, like beat the guy, right? In college, it's different, and I don't know how different colleges might do it differently. In college, it's a little bit different, especially in the beginning of the season versus the end of the season. It's more based off of performance, right?
Yes.
It's like I could lose my wrestle off, but we're gonna go in the beginning of the season lose wrestle off.
Yeah, because you
Go to a
guys see
different
each other
tournament.
in the room every day. It's not the same. It's like, how do you compete against other people?
And
that makes sense.
I might, just because I won the wrestle off, I might start in the first duel versus like, but we both get those similar opportunities, and it's
Performance.
as a
Coach's discretion almost. If it's
Yeah,
that
no,
close.
literally, and it's like it's hard because I think from an athlete perspective, it feels like bullshit, right? I beat the guy, I should be the guy, but it's also like if I beat the guy and then I go 0-2 at the tournament, and then he's like winning the tournament, it's like holy shit, what am I doing? Like why am I not competing? Like why am I only competing at a high level when I'm wrestling this guy? Do I just know him, right? Am I like there's so many different
Patterns.
things. There's so many things that go into that, right? But like in my experience, it was like that, right? In the beginning of the year, you have a wrestle off. Whether you win or lose doesn't really matter. You guys go to the same tournaments. You guys kind of compete for the spot, and whoever kind of performs better gets the spot, right? And towards the end of the year, if you really need one spot going into postseason, then I'm not gonna name any coaches.
No, we don't got to get into.
Yeah, no.
Just talk about the perspective, really.
No, I'm just trying. Yeah, I just want to talk about like the way it works. Like the way it works, really, it's like, you would based on my experience, the guy who essentially has had the spot all year will get more like a bigger opportunity. So like we did best of 2 or 3 of matches, right? The way it works for if you're competing against a guy who already had the spot, you got to beat him once. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
how
that's
how Birds would do it. I mean, sometimes for certain guys, like you know how it is. It's just kind of like it is honestly kind of like the coaches know what's best. They've seen so many athletes in the room. It's just like
it's so hard at the highest level because especially when you have a lot of talent. But it's like when you have a lot of talent and there's like limited spots, I think that really brings the best out of people. It's hard. I think
It's like
that's-
this. It's like a car crash. You absolutely have to surround yourself with other people that are trying to get better and elevate themselves. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, we'll get you another water in a second.
You're good. I'm
And-
thirsty.
And you really have to surround yourself with people that will elevate themselves. Yeah, and we'll turn the fan.
You're good. I'm sweating. I'm drinking all this water. You're good.
Surround
yourself.
yourself with people who are gonna elevate themselves. And this is something I listen to a lot of people talk about. Like, as guys get older, we like kind of settle down. We only live with women, like all this shit. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but I think it's important to like have a group of guys that are grinding, that you're constantly talking to, constantly collaborating with, constantly like pushing you to be better. Because you go home to your girl, she's gonna be like, "Oh, sweetie, how's your day?" You don't need that, honestly. Like, we do not need that. The only thing we should be thinking about is war, how to conquer and how to get better. Like, we don't need someone, "Oh, let me rub your back. How are you feeling? Are you okay? Did your boss talk to you rude?" No, we need to be thinking about how to become the boss. And if you have other guys around you that are gonna elevate you, it just brings you up. And
So-
wrestling's just an analogy to
Yeah.
life. Like
I
I
mean,
was saying.
I slightly agree with what you're saying.
Well,
wait, I
let
just
me
have a
say
diff-
this first.
I have a different perspective.
Let me say this first, though,
Okay.
because as someone who so when you were in the room, like when we were juniors, sophomores, it was like we would try to get good enough to take fucking Lawrence down.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't ever happen, but it was like something we were chasing that would make us better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like you being there elevated us. And I
Yeah.
read a story that like talks about this in like a deep ass philosophy that I'll get into in a second. I want to let you say what you're gonna say, but it's just like, yeah, having people there that elevate you, elevate you.
So I think,
Having someone to rub your back is important.
no, okay.
I know you're gonna say that.
I think-
you
I think
like
having-
the back rubs. You like your shoulders rubs.
Okay, family and relationships from anybody in your life.
Feelings
are,
give you power. That's what
Okay, yeah.
emotions give you power. It's
But
just
like,
emotion.
not even that. Just like relationships are important, and the more time you put into them, like you're gonna get more out of it, obviously. But again, like what you said, kind of like having a group of exceptional people around you. Yeah, I think that's really important, right? Because I think you could say you want to accomplish all these things, you're doing all the right things, but I think ultimately it comes down to your environment. Right?
Yeah, I'll look at the 3 people around you and tell you, the 3 people closest to you, and tell you if you're actually trying to do those things.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm
So
saying?
like who like you gotta really like think about who do you want to, when you're trying to become someone, who do you want to surround yourself with, like. And I feel like this is a really cliche thing to say, but it's really true. Like, and this goes down to environment of like anybody really, like your family, like do the people, like your friends, like do the people that you include in your life and that you give time to, essentially, do they bring you what qualities? I mean, this sounds almost a little selfish.
No, it's like, what
qualities-
value are they adding to your life? And that is 100%
Yeah, but it's
true.
also that's
It
very
sounds
cutthroat.
so, yeah, no, I know what
There's
you're
more-
saying.
there's-
Let me
All right.
expand, because I got you. It's like, yeah, it's not selfish. Like what I'm saying, bro. It's like, so it's like, yeah, it is like, what value do they bring to your life? But it's also like, you need to be selfless in a sense too. Being selfless feels good, and it's like sometimes doing something for somebody who does nothing for you feels good anyways. So it's like,
Yeah.
who cares? If
Yeah.
it makes me feel good, who cares? Like,
So like this goes back to like people you surround yourself with. I think also like be genuine, and also charitable, right? Like you can always, and the way I think about this is, you can always extend a hand to people. They don't have to take it or not, but like extend help to people. Like I don't know. That's part of being genuine in my opinion. And like, but like the part of the genuine part is like, don't expect anything in return when you do something for someone, right? And like, it's weird, right? Because I think we're like, like you said, what kind of value do they bring? We're such I think we're in such a business-like transaction. Like, thing. Whenever we get something,
Are you
from someone,
talking about society?
society as a general, like people in general, like we think, oh, just because I did something for someone,
I might get something.
I'm gonna get something back. Yeah. Right. And that's such a void. Like that's such a void. Like I don't know. You're looking.
That is like
you're looking for validation.
Well, that's sin. That's what it is. That's what I'm pretty sure they talk about that shit in the Bible. Like that is like what is it? That is lust, envy, greed. Like that's one of those. Sloth, pride, wrath.
Seven deadly sins of man.
But, yeah, the 7 deadly sins of man. Like you can turn that fan towards Lawrence a little bit.
I'm burning up.
Yeah. Don't bring it closer. Just turn it towards him. I don't want to touch the mic. Motherfucker. Bro. Just fucking turn it towards him.
It's already towards him.
Alright, good thing I wore a black
Is the fan
shirt.
hitting
Look
you?
at sweat.
Is the fan hitting you? You're good now?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. Where were we at?
Sins.
7 deadly sins. Yeah, bro. These are just like things you can look at for guides. So I was thinking about this. It's like, how do we... So, like, life is just so crazy, right? Life is just so crazy. Like, you got all this shit, and as you get older, it's crazier. You got taxes, you got family, you got girls, you got a job, you got, like, politics, government, all this shit. All this shit. Conspiracy theories. Titanic sinking in 2023. People thinking it's a good idea to go 13,000 feet deep in the ocean in a tin box with screws in the wall. Yeah, it's just like, how do you stay grounded in this society? And it's just like, so how do you do that? You gotta have like morals to stand on. You gotta have values that you stand on, that you don't compromise for anything. You know what I'm saying? And like, for some people, that's religion. Like, for me, that personally works. Like, you think about like the 7 deadly sins of man: lust, greed, envy, sloth, wrath, pride. What did I miss?
So, I think this goes back
Gluttony.
to what we were talking about.
Gluttony, yeah.
Growth. Like, I think, we all make mistakes as people. I think it's really important to kind of like, you have these values, right? You have to like check your values every now and then, right? You have to check your values with your actions, right? Because like, you can go about life.
Bingo!
And many people, I think, go about their life. They say they have these values, and I'm not like one. I'm not an exception to this rule. I've been there, and I've like.
You failed yourself.
I've tried to like learn from these things, right? But like you have to like really sit down and think about like what have I been doing lately? What are my actions doing? And do they line up with my actual values?
Bro, I have a story from yesterday.
Okay.
Yesterday. So it's like, bro, I talk all this shit. This is one thing I'll talk about. Like, so like how I was saying earlier, you say things, they become true. Like how I was talking about with technique. Like you talk about technique, you get better at it. Like with words, with verbal words.
Well, you're articulating.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I think that also is like a sense of manifestation, in a sense. Like you're manifesting getting better at the technique by saying it. So it's just a different perspective.
I can see that. No. I agree
let
with
me
that.
keep going though before I forget. So on here I say all this shit. I'm like talking like I say these things I do, right? And I do them. But like sometimes I am soft and I don't do them. But ever since I started this podcast, it's like I come on here, I say I do these things. I'm like so holding myself accountable. Get my workouts, get my study sessions, go to work, like make my money, save money.
Good.
Yeah, but like yesterday in the wrestling room, I was so gassed, dog. Like we did those scramble rounds. I was going hard. Like we did the stance and motion rounds. I did all of them. I don't wrestle anymore. So that shape to me is a different kind of fucking thing. I don't even run. So it's like I was dying. But it was like I was like, am I gonna do this last motion round? And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do it. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna do it. Because I tell myself I do this shit, and I told you, I felt like I was gonna die after practice. Like I saw you were like, you don't look so good. I was like, yeah, I don't feel good, dog. I was like, I do not feel good. But I proved to myself that I'm actually about it, and then I climbed those 2 extra ropes after practice. I was like dead. I didn't feel good for 4 hours, but I woke up today and I was like, fuck yeah, dude, I didn't bitch out. And that's like, when you bitch out, you chink your own armor. Like imagine going to battle with a slashed armor plate. You're going down.
So I have actually a different perspective on this, and this goes back to growth. Yeah, so you're essentially saying if like just because I don't do these things, you're gonna essentially verbally bash yourself, right?
You're
saying,
chinking your own armor
So-
by betraying your own values.
okay, yes, but I think the route, and I think we're taught this in many, like throughout our lives, it's like just because we make a mistake, just because we fail, it's like we bash ourselves, people bash us, right? Or it's this negative forms of a form of thinking, where I think that does this the negative form of thinking, in my opinion, does you no good. Whereas you kind of like take a step back right now.
But
No, stop.
okay,
Take a step back and think about why I did that. What was I like? Really break things down and think about, okay, why didn't I do what I was going to do, right? Did I truly not do did I not wake up at 6 a.m. and do my run or whatever that I wanted to do because I think I'm lazy or like, right? Or are there
not
are there
feeling
different?
good.
Yeah,
Like,
are there
another
different?
reason.
I'm not trying to give myself an excuse, but like, what
Find the source of the problem.
Find the source of the problem, and then break it down, and figure out how can I like attack that in different
Okay,
way,
but
right?
this
But, like,
kind of goes like to what we were saying earlier, though. Like, you might look at your past and be like, "Oh, I didn't do this the right way," and then be like, "Because you didn't do that the right way, then you'll correct it now."
Yeah,
that's
but-
kind of like what you're saying.
Yes. But I just think there's no reason, especially in our day and age, like we are like ridiculed for making mistakes. Like I think the more you negatively reinforce your mistakes, the harder it is for you to like take your opportunities or try to do these things, right? Because I'll relate this to a wrestling match, right? Every time I go to a wrestling match, every time I lose, I negatively reinforce that. I will have severe anxiety going into my competition. All I'm thinking about is the possibility of losing, what my peers are going to think, what my coaches think, what my family will think, right?
Yeah.
You have to break things down. Like, you have to look at things in a different light, right?
Okay, but it's like if you do what you say. Fuck. There's so much to touch on there. Okay, let's rewind a little bit.
You're good.
So, when you're saying like, you're in the match, and all this shit, and like negatively reinforcing yourself after, that's human nature. Like, it's
No,
human nature.
It's
Not to
social,
negatively
social.
reinforce. No, but it is human. Bro, sometimes you lay in bed at night and you think about the dumb thing you did 3 years ago. Like, for no fucking reason.
Well, like
That is just human nature. You will think about the bad more than the good. Like, I remember the matches I lost more than the ones I won.
So listen, hold on.
I remember the classes I failed more than the ones I passed.
So like
it's-
okay, listen, but like that's a societal perspective on like what is good versus bad, right? How do you actually view versus good versus bad? Just because you failed a course doesn't mean that goes on growth. Like just because I failed a course doesn't mean I'm gonna fail again. I could learn from my mistakes.
Exactly.
and
Like we
figure
were
things
saying
out.
earlier. And I'm not saying I'm saying you need to give your best effort, because like
I agree,
to
yeah.
what I was saying yesterday with me doing that last round, even though I felt like I was dying, and I did throw up after practice. Like, I went to the fucking back
I
and
saw
I
that.
threw up. I was like sitting there dumping. I was like, if I gonna die? And then I was just like, okay, I'm good. But it was just like, if I wouldn't have done that last round, I'm chinking my armor, and let's say I did still compete, and then I go to I'm gonna know I didn't do that last round, and that's the mental depression you don't need.
Okay. I see what you're going. Like, if I have a goal, I want to be a national champ, and I'm not training or like what I
Adequately.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Deep down,
leave,
you
leaving
know.
no stone unturned.
Yeah,
I
know. Like,
I get that.
and that's one thing about men. Like, we might get anxiety, depression. It's because you're leaving stones unturned. You're not checking all your boxes. Like, we have intuition, we have senses like animals do. And they come in the form of depression, anxiety, sadness, unease. Like, these are cues to let you know something is up. Something is up. I'm not doing something right. Like, whether it's like you need to rewind 10 steps and go all the way back to like your family structure, or it's just like, oh, I'm not sleeping enough. You know,
Well, I think with those types of things, they're very complex. I mean,
life
like
is
you said,
extremely complex, and there's so many perspectives. Dog.
Kind
It's
of
crazy.
agree with you both, but I think one thing you both aren't bringing up is awareness for that humans have versus like animals. Like how you were saying, it's human nature to think about that kind of stuff. I get what Larry's saying.
Stop fucking with it.
We live in a society where they say it's okay to fail, blah blah blah, but if you fail, they just tear you to shreds, and that's something that you probably should think about.
Damn,
too.
that is like a contradiction to like what both of us
so
are
like,
saying. Hold up, let me just reiterate what he just said, just in case the mic didn't pick it up. So what my producer just said is that don't say his name because he's a teacher. What my producer just said is that basically society tells you it's okay to fail, and then if you fail, they rip you to shreds, they ridicule you, they put you on a stake, they use you as like an example to be like, don't be this guy. Everyone, look at this guy. Don't be this guy.
This guy made a tweet 10 years ago. We're gonna cancel him.
That is like a contradiction to what both of us are saying. So that's interesting.
I think it goes back to your values, right? If just because people are saying it, like, and this is a hard thing about social media. But I would absolutely like being. We can touch on this in a little bit. Being Spencer Lee would be the hardest thing ever. Going for my fourth national title and like essentially
having two torn ACLs.
Having a lot of things against you and failing, giving your best effort, and like the amount of hate he got, like it's like people switched on him so fast, and it's like, but this goes back to like, what are your values? Do you really value the opinions of all these people? Like why does it matter?
But
like what it comes down to is like, what value? What you can go.
No, it's like, what values do you hold dear? And it's like, this is like it is a value to me to give my best effort. So if I wouldn't have done that last round, that would have been a chink in my armor. Maybe it would have not been for someone else because they don't value that. They just value, like, they're still sweating, they're still losing weight, and they can just whatever, sit the last round out, they're fat. But it's a value for me to give my best effort because if I give my best effort there, I'm going to give my best effort in other realms that are more important. So that is the thing. And it's also, I was going somewhere and I lost it on that.
I can pick this back up. Yeah, back to just Spencer Lee and like opinions or others.
Oh, I wanted to get on that.
Really? So like what do you hold dear? What do you hold dear for your person that like? And you just said like I the value of giving my best effort. If I went in a wrestling match, I gave my best effort, right? And that's all you could ask for. You should be satisfied with that, right? Whether you win or lose, right?
Absolutely.
But like
not
if
you were cheating yourself though in training and like.
I mean, and this goes back to what I was talking about, being meticulous, like with the way.
And like this doesn't just go for wrestling. We just both understand wrestling, so we're talking about it from a wrestling lens. This goes with business. This goes with relationships. This goes with everything. Like we were talking about, wrestling is very similar to life. So yeah continue.
It's just I kind of lost.
Okay, yeah. So let me talk about Spencer Lee here, bro. He's not worried about what nobody's saying because let me just tell you guys, this guy had double ACL surgery. Let me just tell you what getting surgery on both your legs back to back does to you. You are stuck in bed. You're laying in bed. You got a couple good friends checking in on you. Nobody else is really talking to you. They're like, yeah, the wrestling media is like, when's he going to come back? But they're not checking in on him. Like, how you doing, Spencer? So it's like, bro, he doesn't give a single fuck about any of those dudes. And that was probably... I look at my surgeries as like, I'm blessed that I got it. They changed my perspective on a lot of things. And I bet he looks at it very similarly. Because if he, let's say he lost, you've got his shoulder surgery. No, let me continue on this before I miss. So, I bet Spencer looks at that surgery as a blessing. Because if he would have lost that 4th championship without getting those surgeries, that would have been the worst thing that ever happened to him. That would have been the worst thing that ever happened to him. But he already had this new paradigm from not being able to wrestle for a whole year? Like, I guarantee you that was way worse than not then losing an NCAA championship. Like, come on, he wasn't able to do the thing he's been doing since he was 3 years old for a whole year. Like, imagine how much that sucked to him. He was probably in a way worse depression for that than from. And again, I don't know shit. I don't know this guy, but I'm just talking like from someone who has had to stop wrestling and has had surgeries and like was sad about it, but it did give me a new perspective that it's like, oh, I was just grateful to be able to wrestle in the first place. It's like, and I take that perspective with me when I go into the room now, and I feel like I'm able to give some of that to the kids where it's like, yeah, just be grateful to be in here because this makes you a better person.
Yeah. So this highlights like 3 things I would say.
Don't touch it.
I like to fix it.
Play with the chessboard. Play with the chessboard.
Okay. This highlights 3 things. 1, social media is just a crazy, crazy world, right? Things we never even thought were fathomable, like knowing others' opinions and just like being on the news and like there's so many people that view it and like, know it. Like
Everyone thinks they're an expert.
Yeah,
too.
well,
yeah, it's like
which
you
one?
can get. I can get into this too because I have a Twitter account. I post a lot. I interact. People kill me on Twitter. People crucify me on Twitter. Like they stick stakes in my forehead, dog. They don't even like. They're just like he's dead. He's dead. Yeah, they hate me, and it's just like I don't care. I listen to the valid criticism. I'm like, oh, they're kind of right there. But then like the bullshit that's just like. You're ugly. I'm just like, congratulations, dude. Like, I work out every single day. I feel great. I look great. I do well with girls. Like, I'm fine.
You're getting letting them get to you.
Yeah, but
you're like giving yourself these validations right now.
I do. You got to.
So
I mean,
okay,
at
but
least
like
a little bit.
this goes back to like just the perspective. Like I don't even know like what would be going through my head if I was Spencer Lee, right? Like seeing all these people like. You feel like you're loved in the wrestling community, and then you see all these like injury default because like, dude, you didn't accomplish the goal you wanted, and then injury default. He's not even 2 fucking weeks, and he's like wrestling at the NCAA tournament. Great accomplishment, right? And these people are bashing him, like just ridiculing, call it like, and this goes back to the culture of wrestling, right? It's kind of like a blue collar sport. Like it's like you go into the tournament and you don't like. Give it your all, and this goes to like sports in general. Like when you see, this is a different pass. Oh wait, just with the injuries, like I think people are like so ruthless. Like people don't understand things from your perspective.
Oh, bro,
like
trust me,
people,
I know. Yeah,
people
go
off. People expect you to go and compete, but it's like you have your whole life ahead of you. There's more to life than just wrestling. There's more life. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just like, again, the type of person you have to be that good at a sport, he doesn't care what people think. Like, let's just be honest. He has had to sacrifice so much to get there. He does not care what people think. Like, so let's just, so he's good there. But it is like, this is something I dealt with a lot in high school. Bro, I was walking around, my kneecaps would dislocate randomly. And I would just be like, oh, fucking pop that thing back into place. And at practice, I would be like limping around. I was wearing if I didn't have knee braces on, I literally couldn't walk. Like, it was so bad. And like my teachers are like giving me hard times and shit. I'm like, bro, I'm not learning anything in here. I don't give a fuck. Like, have some. And I know, like you're doing your job.
My knees.
Hey, I can't sit in the bro. Like.
Oh, this chair is uncomfortable.
Call it an excuse. Call it an excuse.
Not an excuse.
But it is like a nagging thing that was just like bugging me. So I was like, don't fucking bug me. But it's just like people don't care, and you just need to understand that people don't care, and you just need to. So like you shouldn't. So only give validation to the people's opinions who you respect, or valid criticism.
Yeah.
Something that Larry was really touching on was how. You didn't say it, but I knew you were going here. Is like how society affects your values, and certain people it doesn't. But
society creates values. Like it is like something that is constructed by us. It is constructed by the masses. Like if we decide marriage isn't important, marriage won't be important anymore. We decide that as a whole.
Yeah.
But also your environment. Like if you're in the back of a wrestling room, doing all this stuff, like you have a certain mentality to do that extra rep, but if you're in the wood wrestling room. You know, you don't really have you just want to go home.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, environment matters. Yeah. the
Larry
people you
knows exactly what I'm
surround
talking
yourself-
about.
The people you surround yourself with matters. Yeah.
So it ties back to what you were saying.
Society like essentially gives they add the value to the action or add the value to just whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's hard because like what I was getting at earlier with injury, not injuries, but failure, right?
Yeah.
We castrate. What's the word? We
You were gonna say castrate, dog.
Yeah,
I mean, we low key do.
We
Like
castrate-
they try to bury you, dog. They try to like emasculate you for failure.
No, yeah. So like, and it's such a and like this goes on many more like I've seen. It's so sad because like you go to the wrestling tournaments and you see these kids and we'll go back in there. This is another.
Stop moving the mic, dog.
Okay. I'll put it the water.
Yeah.
So, this going back to like wrestling and growth or the growth of it. I think there's a big limitation, and this is about all sports though. Like youth wrestling, it kills me to go to these like I can think of Reno TOCs. You go to that tournament, you see these kids, they're like 6 to 10.
You mean
years
Reno
old.
Worlds?
Reno Worlds, sorry, yeah, wrong tournament. Reno Worlds, this youth tournament, big tournament, right? It's a big deal, right? You see these parents, these dads, parents in general, they are so invested in their kids, and that's a good thing. Like it's good to be investing in your children, right?
Yeah.
It's another
They
thing.
live through it.
It's another yeah. They live through their kids. That's another thing to put your kids through the. I will if my kid ever wrestles, I will never. I'm not gonna say anything about the what goes on there, but I will never will make my kid cut weight until maybe like high school. Right? I don't think it's healthy for these kids to cut weight at the lower
When
ages.
did I do my first?
They also like it's
I was probably.
the weight they put on these kids' shoulders to win or lose, right? It's like the end of the world. These kids are like 8 years old. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it happens with all sports. It just goes to show. It goes.
It's harsher.
No,
like,
but it says something about society as a whole. Like people feel so insecure in themselves that they need to project hard work on an 8-year-old kid that they can't even do themselves. Like and let's just say something like this. Like you should not ask somebody to do something that you wouldn't do yourself unless you're a coach. Like if you're a fucking parent and you're like, I mean, like I can't think of a good example off the top of my head, but let's say it's just a parent that's like, do the dishes every day. I'm never touching a dish. And it's like, kid, do the dishes every day. Like that's not
it's like a
that's
boss.
not that's
Boss
like having a
versus leader.
slave.
A boss
Yeah.
versus a leader.
So exactly.
So
So it's like and I feel like my dad was very good at that. Like he was a good leader. He would always be up in the morning working out early, working late. Like that's an example. And let's like your dad. He was a good coach. Like that's how I remember. He was always like giving me good advice off to the side. Like never like overbearing right after the match. It's like he would find me. He'd be like, "Hey, I think you should do this, maybe." Blah blah blah. But it was just like, can you? Because I know your dad was really in wrestling. So
it's okay. I want to go back to just like the kid thing. Like,
bad
it's just a
parents.
slippery. Yeah, it's just a slippery slope effect because I think a lot of these parents they're coming from a good place. They don't know how to apply it in a good way, right? And like they put all this emphasis on winning and losing. They're overtraining their kids. You get these phenomenal kids, these phenomenal athletes. They get to high school, they're still phenomenal. They get to college, they go to get all this freedom. Fizzle out, they're done.
Bad.
Or sometimes they just finish high school and they don't even want. They get to a point in high school where they only did the sport because their parents and their family, right?
yeah.
They didn't really want to do that. It was their family.
Yeah, and it's like, I would see a lot of that because
I think-
I was the shit kid. Let me just get on this real quick because I was the shit kid when I was young. So I would catch a lot of those people as I was going through high school because I actually I loved it. Like I wasn't good at the beginning, but I loved it. So I would work hard and I would catch those really athletic kids that had been with it since they were 6 years old and just like their dad had taken them to every big tournament or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just like I was consistent. I was and I liked it.
Yeah.
So
That
that does matter.
Going back to what you were saying about my dad. My dad coached in Sac City, and one thing I think my dad did really well was essentially not like he allowed me. I took the steps to get better myself, right? He never forced me to do certain things. He kind of told me like, you could.
You're
get better.
welcome to
I'm
do
welcome
this.
to do these things. I could do these things. I'm never being forced to do certain things that I didn't want to do. There's a recommendation sometimes. I mean, maybe a little more push than I would have, but
you
they help you excel, and it helps you. Yeah, it helped me excel and kind of reach the level that I wanted to get to.
And it's
in high
like
school.
you were around those college kids too, so it's like that environment that you were around.
Yeah.
You probably would have felt like shit if you didn't do those workouts.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like, and that goes back to like, just like the values that your environment instills in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you
You
were
show-
around those college kids since you were a kid, and that showed like when you would come and practice with us, like you were a different kind of cat, and that made us all different types of cats, and that like trickles down through the room even now.
This is one of the coolest things about wrestling, right? Because anyone at any level, whether you're the wrestler at the highest level, the lowest level, like you're just starting out, right? You're making an Olympic team, you're in college, you're in high school, right? Anyone at any level of wrestling, again, we go back to the definition of wrestling. It is a struggle, right? It is it's a struggle, right? It's a struggle between two forces, and you're constantly learning, constantly adapting.
It's a struggle fight.
Yeah, and like in your environment, like right, you compete. Like being around those college guys, it elevated me. I struggled a lot. Like when I first got in that room, and then you start to hold your own, and you start to gain this confidence, and then like so going back to the clubs we were talking about, especially on the East Coast, Midwest, these clubs are so important because you have all these pipelines of kids, right? You got the youth kids, you got the college kids coming back from college. I can think of like Pinnacle's back, multiple
That's a
Americans.
Minnesota club.
Pinnacle's of Minnesota Wrestling Academy. I only know one of the coaches just because his name's Lawrence. I thought that was cool. Anyway, they have multiple Americans, multiple college guys that come back into the room during the summer and spring, and they feed back into the program, and they elevate these high school, these middle school kids. They show them technique. They show them, and I think that's a big thing if we're going to talk about growth of not just wrestling, but the growth of like
Human.
Okay, yeah, I'm thinking more still in wrestling. We're going back to California. I think California's got a lot of potential. It's really hard to succeed out of high school or California. I've always wondered
really
like that.
see that.
I've always wondered that. You see these really good kids in high school, and it's like, man,
They don't have
why
the
do
training partners, the college training partners, young enough.
Yeah.
That's what
So it's like in this trickle down effect. That trickle down effect of these college guys going back and giving back to the program is so important, right? And again,
No, like I really think Vacaville missed a couple big shots there. Like we had some really, really talented kids, man, and it was just like couldn't get them. It's not that they couldn't get trained. Maybe they didn't want it bad enough. Maybe blah 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 blah. You know, it just all comes back to you at the end of the day. Like you got to look inwardly. You got to be like, everything that happens for a reason, and it's. I'm big on ultimate accountability at this point. Like you have to take accountability for everything that happens in your life. Like you have to control. Like if it happens in your universe, you're in control of it, and I don't give a fuck if it's your fault or not. Like a meteor could crash right now, and I would take blame for it if it affected me.
So let's touch on this. Like a value that I have, right, is essentially control what you can control, right? You can control how you react to things. You can control what you do every day, your habits, right? You can control the people you surround yourself, your environment, right? What you can't control are certain outcomes, other people's viewpoints, other people's thoughts, right? So like that goes back to my values and like I guess how I will try to attempt to handle. It's really hard again because I think your values and society's values really clash, right?
In a sense, though, everything is controllable. You just have to look at it through like a larger game plan.
I'd agree. When you break it down like I did, like your reaction, but ultimately you cannot control some things. Like you can't.
Those are the initial things you can control. Those are the immediate things you can control. Like you can control how you respond. Like this is one thing I'm big on. Respond, don't react. Like you're never gonna come up with a good response in a minute. Like if someone says some crazy shit to you and you're just like, blah, 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 bro, that's not a response. That's a reaction. You know what I'm saying?
What did they say?
brother. But it's like
you mean like you're talking about?
but it's like this is a wrestling. If someone super ducks you the first time, it's a reaction, not a response. Like the first time you see a super duck, it's like what the fuck? What the fuck just happened? That dude just
went around me.
yeah, and it's like, but then you see it a couple times, you're able to give a response, not a reaction. You know, you're able to down block, get an attack back, a response, not a reaction. You know, so that's something I think about a lot.
Yeah,
But like those immediate things, that's what you were touching on. The immediate things you can affect
Yeah,
when,
just breaking things.
yeah, in a situation. Yeah, it's just like we were talking about. And another thing, like that Vagabond series, I feel like one thing it really encapsulates is like stoicism. And I don't think anyone's a true stoic. Like humans being true stoics, it's like, do you know what's
Can you go? I've seen it.
pull up stoicism, Chris?
Isn't stoicism
Chris,
holding value?
pull up stoicism.
It's like holding value
No.
of something.
It's like finding all value from within and not letting outside stimuli affect anything around you. Like everything is found from
That's
within
hard.
and
I
how
don't
you
know if
project
humans
it.
are capable. Of
That's what I'm
true
saying.
stoicism.
That's what I'm saying. I do not know if humans are the endurance or pain of hardship without the display of feelings or without complaint. Yeah, so it is.
That's so difficult.
So
I don't
it
know
is
if
just-
that comes from society or if that's just.
Well, it's just like I don't know if humans are truly capable of it because we are just, unless you're just. But how you can become better at it is just to do hard things to make other things not affect you. Like I was telling you yesterday, like you weren't big on the cold shower, sauna. You
So-
were a bit. Let me
no.
finish. I'm just attacking you a little bit. I'm just
All right.
playing you.
No,
Don't take
okay.
it too serious.
No, I'm
Don't-
not.
but yeah, it's just like doing hard things, little hard things that you don't have to do, but you choose to do. Maybe they make you feel a little better. Maybe it's placebo effect, whatever. But it's a hard choice you're choosing to make that will make other things seem easier. Like
So
make you able to handle more stress.
okay, yeah. I talked about those things and I agree, or like I'll agree with what he said. Essentially, I think I'm trying to look at these. I'm trying to look at these things like a sauna or cold therapy. What do they give me? How do they give me value? Like we say sauna, we talk about. You can think of a bunch of things that give you value with sauna or cold plunge, right? They say about recovery, but it's also like before we even think about recovery, like I'm thinking about
Preventative.
yeah, more. I'm thinking. I'm taking a step back and not thinking. Okay, after I train, why do I need the sauna? Why do I really need the cold bath? Right? Do I need it's addressing the system of my body, right? Am I training in the right ways? Am I eating the right ways? Right? My body has natural ways of kind of like dealing with these things.
Yeah.
Am I taking care of those before? And like, do I actually need these other tools?
Yeah,
Right.
for sure. For sure. I mean, yeah,
It's just
like
a different way of thinking, really. And,
100%.
I don't think of like I'm not saying like a sauna or a cold
You're not
plunge are
saying it's a
negative.
myth.
It's not. No, yeah, I'm not saying it's a myth. I'm not saying it's negative. I'm just saying take a step back and ask yourself why do you actually need these things and like can you do other things better before you even get to that point and like what. Yeah, just looking at
And
the
then
system.
maybe add the cold plunge.
Looking
and
at the
sauna
system,
once you're
So again, I think looking at the system of myself versus the symptom, right? The symptom is I don't know pain, soreness, right?
But the
Why do I
thing-
have this soreness? Like addressing the system of how like I can the whole thing versus just the symptom of and trying to just attack the symptom.
Okay, well, let me just say this. There really is, like, I don't do it for any symptom. Like, I just do it to become mentally tougher. And, like, the cold plunge, whatever, cold shower, it undeniably gives you a serotonin boost. Like, that's just chemistry. That's but that's just chemistry. So, like, tricking your biology, tricking your chemistry, like, I think, again, you wrestle, but you'll realize once you're done wrestling, if, like, you're not in it for a while, you need to sweat. So I get it, actually, I do get in the sauna so that I can sweat. Like, because I think it's important to get, like, all that excess water that's just sitting under your skin that you don't piss out, whatever. Refresh it. Get it out. Get some new in. It's like the same thing as, like, You clean yourself outside your body. Let's clean right below the skin too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's kind of
your
how I
body
look
kinda
at that.
filters and,
So,
shoots out all the
but
toxins.
maybe there's other ways to do that, like drinks, vitamins. I don't know. Maybe I don't need to be.
Yeah,
detoxed
but like
and all
this
that.
goes back
But
into like,
certain, I'm not fluid with all the science. Again, a lot of things is just saying you're gonna do things and doing them.
Yeah.
And I say I'm gonna do these things and I do them. So I
think-
get a lot
think
of
that's-
value out of that.
I think that stuff is just the price of admission for whatever.
Okay. What's the price for that? I'm a
Just
little
like showing up and doing things. Like I think I'm only gonna want to do these things if I actually want to do them. And like I gotta write like if I want to be a certain person, and I break that down. Right, I want to be a certain person that has these values. What do these values look like? And then breaking that down, like what does this person do every day? Right,
For sure.
and then I'm equating that to those positive things to the values, right? Who will I become, right? Positive, right? I think that's a little more. It's just a different approach, right? Because I think
I think we're agreeing.
we
I
are
think
agreeing. We're agreeing.
You're just saying.
I'm saying,
You're just saying.
I'm looking at it
Let's
through-
find out what makes you need the sauna in the first place, or the cold plunge.
It's just
But-
like looking at things from a different perspective, bro.
Or
It's-
maybe you just don't like cold water and you're just saying it a different way.
Yeah, I mean, you
I
could be
mean,
right.
come
You
on.
could be right. I could be validating myself. People do that all the time.
People
right?
do it subconsciously all the
People
time.
validate. I mean,
Chris
dude,
is like, Chris, what do you think? What do you think?
I'm
Has
not-
he defended the cold water enough, or is he just being soft?
I
Do we
agree
make
with
him
Larry.
Get a cold shower after this?
I agree with Larry. He's just breaking it down from the mic. You have to think of macro thinking, overall broad, and then micro thinking. And Larry is very much breaking it down from a micro perspective.
yeah.
Whatever.
So like,
Do your cold shower. Stop touching the mic.
so yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying I'm giving you a different lens to view it from,
Yeah.
where you could try, and this goes back to wrestling culture. I think we're grind. No matter whether it's good or bad, you have to get there and grind. And I think there are things in life that you have to do like that. But it's also like, why does your life have to be only that, right? Why can't I?
This
place-
is so funny.
Well,
Because Zane said some shit to me like this, and I totally shit on him for it, like over text. But
so,
like, I wasn't rude.
You
I
have
was
to
just like,
place positive values on things, and like, there's more to life than just like this mindset. Of grind.
yeah, but it's just, I feel like we are
There's
animals.
a time and place to
We
grind.
should not be thinking about anything else but war as men. In a sense, like, I just think, like, I saw this meme the other day. It was like,
You
should
want-
guys
you
even?
want-
It was like,
you want
no.
Vinland Saga?
Let me say.
Nobody has enemies.
I've watched that. Yeah.
I have watched it, but let me just say this real quick. I saw this meme the other day, and it was like, why are you a guy and you're getting horny? You should be thinking about war. You're like, and it was like, is being horny an inherently female trait? Because it's like, I'm not gonna say because I'm gonna get called misogynistic, and I don't want to put you on that podcast. But
We can move on to a different topic.
yeah, but it's just like, yeah, I think as men we're just like all. This is why a lot of people are depressed, have anxiety. Fuck, I'll get you water in a second.
You're good.
This is why the people. We're gonna wrap this up pretty soon, anyways. But yeah, this is why a lot of people are depressed, have anxiety, all this stuff. I feel like we deny a lot of our primal instinct, a lot of our stuff that really makes us humans, like getting outside, working hard. Like, a lot of guys are like afraid to fucking go to the gym and like really pump some iron and just feel manly. And like, I know that sounds really simple and like stupid, like a meathead, but it does something for you inside when you do that every day. Or like, wake up early, not because you have anything to do, just because that is just something that is a value, and you're gonna get more stuff done during the day. Whether it's something as small as like cleaning the house, doing laundry, it's just like, I think, I know for a fact.
Getting my phone.
Yeah.
Where is it?
My phone's just going off.
Oh, it's right there. Fuck, it's just like, fuck, I totally lost my train of thought.
You're good.
Oh. values. I lost my train of thought completely.
No, so
I forgot what I was saying. We're agreeing though.
no, we are agreeing. I just look at things from a different lens. Um,
No, but this is funny. I'm gonna bring up what Zane said to me because this is funny. So like I posted some shit and I was like, depression isn't real. I was like, it's something you create
I
yourself.
disagree.
You're 100% accountable for it. Like it is your fault.
Okay, I
Like,
agree, but
no,
disagree
I don't
with you,
even want to
actually.
get into if depression is real or not because I 100% believe it is not real.
Okay.
Like you do it to like again. Everything is a result. I'm about ultimate accountability. Like I said, that.
You're more like about ultimate ones. It's either not or it is.
Well, I just think we
Sounds
have
like it.
ultimate accountability as men to control everything that happens to us. And if you want to change something, you have the ability to change it
See,
as
that's
an
where we
American.
disagree, though. I think there's not everything you can control.
But some things.
But
But
Larry,
There
it
are a lot
goes,
of things you are.
Larry, it goes back to what you've been saying this whole time, which is difference in perspective.
Yeah.
And he can think that way because, you know, the difference in perspective.
Yeah, but
so
it's
depression doesn't
because-
affect it.
But it's because I have the. It's literally just a mindset switch. Like, bro, because I think it's real, it's real. Like, if I think I can control everything, I can fucking control everything. I will not let anything that I can't control enter my life now. Which is like, and that's it's just a mindset. It's like some. So I don't know. I forgot where I was.
So
going
I'm
with
gonna
that.
ask you a question. What do you think of? How do you define mindset?
Mindset. Interesting.
Just think about it. You don't have to give an answer right away. Just think about it.
Probably mindset, how I wake up and I think in the morning. Like that's probably the most pure form of mindset. Like how do you feel when you're gonna quit and how do you feel when you wake up in the morning and if you're having bad thoughts, do you counter them? Like do you counter your thoughts?
The perspective that I take is you're still on the macro lens. Again, like you said, I'm on more of a micro lens, right? You're saying, oh, how am I gonna feel?
No, it's not it is how do I feel, but I don't care how I feel. I'm gonna do it anyways. And that's like one thing. Like I don't even consider how I feel. I hate it when my dad says, "Are you ready for work today? How do you feel?" Like he's just acting like he cares about me, like a good dad should. But I fucking hate it. I don't even consider how I feel that day. I might be
ready to work.
Yeah, it's just like, bro, because I'm going to work anyways. What does it matter how I fucking feel? Like my knee, and this is just something I have to live with. My knees feel like shit every day. Every day. Like sometimes I'll just step and I'll be like, whoa, that didn't feel right. Like, oh, my knee might pop out right
You
here.
got both surgery.
Yeah, and they still don't feel good. I was telling you yesterday, like I definitely still have some tears. But it's just like, bro, but that, like I said,
Go get a claim.
it builds.
Go get your money out.
It builds character though. I wouldn't trade it for anything because it's like, bro, it's honestly like has given me power that other people don't have because
It's equivalent exchange.
yeah, I know
Equivalent exchange.
exactly.
All right, sign off.
I know, but that's real. Like I know a lot of people won't ever get to where I'm at unless they really put themselves through something
Suffering.
super hard. Because yeah, I've had a lot of stuff good, but I've had to suffer a lot too, and that does something to you. It makes you a better person. And
The perspective I take is just there's a lot of hardships and suffering in life. I would rather. I mean, obviously, it depends. There's so many different like layers that go into
I
this.
think life
So
is
like you're
sadness and
just talking
suffering.
about your.
Like that is life.
I disagree.
It's
I
50%
think
of life.
Life is struggle. Life
Fair.
is a struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, when people equate, we say that quote with the infamous Dan Gable quote, right? It's a little cliche.
Once you wrestle, everything else is
Everything
easy.
else.
That's like the path one. He understands everything because he wrestled.
yeah,
like the
that's
way-
a cool
yeah.
analogy. But I just think like I'd rather. I mean, it's obviously depends on your situation. Let's say I do have a job, right? I have a job. I absolutely wake up and I dread every single day. I'm not saying go out there and like, quit your job. You need to do what like you can to like make your like means to like live, but also like grow from that and like find opportunities to grow like out of that. Like
But ultimate accountability in a sense is like, how did you get to that job in the first place? You hate your life.
Yeah,
You got to
but,
that
like,
job
I'm not-
in the first place
I'm saying-
because of decisions you made along the way.
Yeah.
And like,
like-
and it goes to what we were saying earlier. Like, yeah, you can look back and be like, oh, I made some mistakes. What kind of person is this gonna make me now? But you have to flip the switch to be like ultimate accountability.
Yes, but also you have to realize anyone. I mean, I'm not even this down.
Yeah,
So
you're
have-
just adding to my point.
Yeah,
That's all
so-
you're doing.
So you have this goes back to like flipping the switch, and essentially you have to realize anyone at any age can grow as long as you're willing to. Don't be naive. And this is like
Big
I don't
time.
know the quote, but like
Stuff happens at
like
different ages.
the willingness to learn. What is that? What's the definition of that essentially? Is it's the willingness to learn is essentially like
naivety.
no willingness to learn. There's a term for it.
It's not naivety, but it's like curiosity. It's
Yeah,
like
it's curiosity.
it's like being like a child. It's
I'm gonna do quotes. See.
you-
willingness to learn at any really
There was-
stage. You know.
no, go back. There was a bunch right there.
There's a specific word.
Willingness to
Look up, put word after, maybe quotes. Or no, before quotes, sorry. Like take out quotes.
I
and
don't
replace
think
it with
this is
word.
going anywhere. Like with the willingness to learn quotes, like what the
Like this?
fuck?
You said told them that, yeah.
I didn't say that.
Inquisitive, curious, enthusiastic, teachable. I don't know. I know there's a term, but
But like, yeah, you have. I think being willing to learn is important. Like, you can never stop learning. As soon as you stop learning, you've decided to die. Like, you've literally decided to die.
see,
And I think that-
still think you're an ultimate. So
Like,
it's not.
I'm talking in phrase of speech.
Okay, I agree.
I talk in metaphors a lot. Like I say, I do that. I
But
talk
it's-
in metaphors a lot.
You're
Like,
an ultimatum.
you're
right?
killing
It's
yourself.
Either you killed.
yeah, but you're killing part of yourself. Like this, I say this about people who stop chasing their goals. They kill part of themselves.
Yeah,
like
because
you are never
You're never
the same
damned.
person.
You're never damned to that decision, right?
You-
At any
you aren't,
point,
but-
you have to. You do sacrifice. Let's say like I do sacrifice my opportunities that I might have had previously. However, I can still, in some way,
You can
shape, or form,
circle
at any
back.
point in my life, I can circle.
You can circle.
I can grow.
Yes, but you have to keep it in perspective because life is so short. We need to pay attention to like every day, every year. It's like those fine-tooth details. You gotta pay attention to them, dog, because they'll set you down the wrong path. You'll get lost in the sauce. Chris loves it that I lost in the sauce. People get lost in the sauce of life, dog.
So define lost in the sauce.
Bills, taxes, girls, college, jobs,
So you're
dead
saying
end jobs. Lost in
what
life.
society-
The
Not being
matrix.
conscious of what you're doing.
Lost in things you don't value that society values. That you are just stuck in the verse of, the reality of, that you don't care about because of decisions you've made in the past. And that is kind of like why I do everything I do now. Like, I really think about it. Maybe I talk about everything in macro lens because I think about everything in macro lens. Like, when I got out of high school, I wasn't like, I need to go to college right now. I was like, holy shit, I don't want to be $100,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that sounds way worse than fucking going to community college for 2 years or going to the military. And
the route.
it's
Especially in
fucking
California.
phenomenal. I loved
I
it.
didn't wrestle at good.
Yeah, and like I will talk great on community college until like, I don't know, grateful for community college. Taught me, you go to class, you learn shit, you go home, no bullshit. Like, and I think college culture like is very deconstructive to a lot of things, especially athletes. Like, you're around drinking all the time and you're trying to stay sober.
Yeah.
But we don't need to get into that. But again, it's not constructive to be around alcohol if you're an athlete. You know, that's just like, simple. But again, it's like ultimate accountability, all that. It just ties back together. I feel like this podcast is, like when you do podcasts, you kind of notice like they have like a story thread, like a story. Like, we started at like
Wrestling.
we started at like this wrestling, and then we got to like sword fighting, which is very similar, and then we got to like way of life, like perspective on life, all this stuff, and it was just like, bro, the podcast has like a story arc, and then when like we got to this point, and we just kind of like summed everything up right there, like we talked about everything, and then like Man, that was a good one, bro. I had a great time. I feel like
Yeah.
I learned a lot, dog. Like, this is the best way to learn. This is the best way. You don't get a conversation like I want to know what this is. Rogan calls it this, and I think it's kind of gay. They call them dates for friendship. They call it, it's like, how often do you sit down with your buddy and just chop it up and be like, figure shit out? Like, whether it's just like,
I think real friendships do that, right? I shout out my friend Adam. Yeah, I actually do. We do this a lot. We'll go. Well, Shugs teases me about this. We'll go on dates. Like we'll literally
go out to dinner and
We'll
chop
go
it
out
up.
to dinner and we'll chop it up. We'll talk about like what do we want to do with our lives? What are we doing? Like we talk about those things.
Yeah.
Like, what do we want to do?
But
how are we getting in there? Right? How are you doing? How's family? All that.
Yeah, and it's like you get lost in the sauce of life, you forget to do that. And I love this platform because it's like I can have an excuse to have my friends come talk and be like, hey, record it, put it out, other people can get good out of it. It's like, yeah, there's like, so like the people that hate on podcasts, it's like, what you hate on? You're hating on people having a conversation. Like, that's the crazy thing.
I think podcasts are cool because not only do the speakers get different perspectives on a multitude of different things like life, knowledge, all that stuff, but recording it and broadcasting it to the world now through technology and social media, anyone can see that. And you talked about it yesterday. I do think like the podcasts, or the podcasts that talk about like they're
celebrity
podcasts,
degenerate shit. Degenerate.
It's like it's entertainment, but it's
brain rot. You
It's
try not to watch brain rot. I try to add value. I try to have people on that I think inspire me, inspire other people. Like have some value. Yeah, and
we're not gossiping about the local people in Backville.
Yeah, I hate that shit. Like I knew I didn't have to say anything to you, but like some people before they come on, or if they ask to come on, I'm like, hey, we're not doing this to like talk about other people or like talk about
things
dumb shit. Like I want to talk about culture. If there's a problem that you see with the culture, let's talk about that. If there's something that you feel you can add to the world, if you're doing something cool, if you want to just talk to me, like we can have a good conversation. We like the same things. Like I like UFC, I like gambling a little bit. I would love to talk to someone about that.
Yeah.
Like we just talked about wrestling for fucking 30 minutes. We talked about the way of life. We talked about perspectives. We talked about goals. Like that was a really productive podcast, bro. Fuck yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you. CJS episode 14. We out. Chris, hit stop streaming or stop recording. Stay in the seat. I gotta get a picture of you.
All right.
OBS.
Where is that? Here?
Yeah. Stop recording.